the business ecosystem means to Miss Laura Sigmund. So thank you so much for having me. And hello today. So I know we'll be spending some time together. Before I get started, I do want to share this is meant to be more interactive. So we will have moments where I request just a little bit of feedback. I might answer. Just want to see, make sure you all can see my screen. Okay, perfect.
We,
Once,
we can, but we can't see the presentation yet.
okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you able to
There you
see
go.
it?
Yes.
Perfect. If this, here we go. Perfect. Okay, now we're doing what I need to do. So, what is business success? This is a very layered question. It is definitely a very layered question, but I love it because it makes us take a deeper look at what it is that we do and what it is that we want to achieve. So, for me, my short answer is fulfilling my mission, meeting my personal needs, and sewing into my community. Throughout this presentation, we will see that that answer actually has more meat to it. And I hope to get to know what you all's definition of success is as well. So we know that just the dictionary in itself, I always like to go to the simplest thing because we're often taught that failure is the antithesis of success. But in reality, we know that failure is actually a part, it's a component of success. And we should remember that as we are building our definition for success. We know that it's one that succeeds, but there's a huge story behind what that looked like. As an icebreaker, just for everybody to kind of get to know each other, we can warm up. I know we've had a full day of work, but just to get to know each other briefly. I would love it if you could share with me your name, if you are a full-time or part-time entrepreneur, and what would you be doing if you were doing what your childhood dream was? And is that and is it anywhere related to what you currently do? So I will start. I am Kendall T. Braxton. I'm a full-time entrepreneur. And if I was living out my childhood dream, I would be a singer or a lawyer. So, who would like to go next?
I can go next. My name is Brenda Brown, and I am a part-time entrepreneur. And if I was able to live out my childhood dream, I thought about in the medical field, a nurse or a doctor.
Is that related to what your business
Oh,
does?
it's health related. It is. My business deals with advocate for CPR, AED, education on heart disease. And so it's still in that medical arena. I'm just not, I'm retired, but I'm not doing the doctor or I always wanted to work with people, take care of people. I'm just doing it in indirect way.
Well, thank you so much.
You're
And who do we have next?
I can go next. My name is Antoinette McLean, and if I would have lived out my childhood dreams or occupation, I would have been a pediatrician or a lawyer. And my business has nothing to do with either of those. I actually got into nonprofit work, and I decided to do like consulting part time. I'm a part time entrepreneur, and it's more of working with nonprofit organizations on the human services side.
Okay, awesome. We're still helping people. So
Yeah.
perfect. Okay.
So could you repeat that question?
Yep. What would you be doing if your childhood dream was your occupation?
I think my childhood dream has been my occupation. My grandfather was a hairstylist. Um, My mother, I'm 62 years old. My mother was a hairstylist. I always had a vision for being a hairstylist, a business owner, because I grew up, um, that's in my bloodline. The issue that I have is that the wisdom and the understanding that I needed to go as far as I knew that I could have, um, I didn't do it. I had other things that came into play. So um, I think I would have been a bit more financially successful, if you will, if that makes sense. I would have done things differently as it relates to the money and taking more risks, taking advantage of more opportunities as a business owner, which is why I think oh, I'm sorry. My name is Benita Seal. I have been a hairstylist for 44 years, almost 45. I am a part of a nonprofit organization, and we help female entrepreneurs. And I think that's one of the reasons that I have such a passion to be a part of Gathering Friends to Give and the Boss Crown Awards to help women in business, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you. And we have Miss LaDonna.
Yes, I am LaDonna Wyatt, and I'm the owner of Brooks Tea Incorporated, and I am a full-time entrepreneur. And my childhood dream was to be an entertainer, singer, dancer, like on a kids show like Sesame Street or something like that. But I didn't do anything like that. Basically, I did teach children in the church choir and stuff, but my business has nothing to do with that at all.
What does your business do?
Um, I have a organic tea beverage business.
Yes.
Yes, I see a
Okay.
lot of children. I see a lot of children. I talk to them at the farmers market or something like that, but I'm not singing to them.
Well, hey, there's still hope, right? There's still hope. Thank y'all so much. So, as you all shared a little bit about yourselves, and we'll have time to interact a little bit more as we go through this, but I will formally introduce myself. I believe that our definition of business success should encompass the totality of the business, but also us. Because people can say that, oh, it's business, it's not personal, but for most of us, our business is a part of our livelihood. It's a part of what we spend our time and endless hours on. So our definition of success should encompass that. So like many women, I wear multiple hats. I am a daughter, a sister, a godmother, and though I don't have any biological nieces and nephews, I have some babies who know me as their aunt, and nobody in this world can tell them I'm not their auntie. I'm a preacher and I'm a full-time entrepreneur, as I mentioned. I started my first two businesses while in undergrad. My first one, it had a mission to build communities, spread love, and impact lives. I operated that business for 10 years. We celebrated 10 years last year, and it was very bittersweet to me to close. But it was something that I needed to do because for many reasons, but the main one, it was not profitable. And even though it was mission driven, though it was a for profit business, I felt like it was unsuccessful until I had some time to reflect. Because even though it was not on a grandiose scale, I still fulfilled the mission of that business. I still did that work for 10 years. So even though initially I felt as though I had nothing to show for 10 years of my life's work, in reality, there was mission accomplished. So for that, I found success in that, even though there was also the ideal of failure, given that it was not profitable, and I ended up closing it. My primary business is Braxton Management, as Laura had shared about. I get to support small businesses and associations with administration, operations management, and consulting. I absolutely love what I do, but my goal is to scale so that I am not the day to day person anymore. I'm working so that I'm building a team to directly work with my clients on a daily basis so I can serve truly as the CEO and look on the wider scale. In addition to that, because I have other projects, I need time to focus to that. So, cooking is my passion, is my therapy. The kitchen is my safe space. I believe in real food. I believe in people taking care of themselves. And I launched Kenny's 622 Trowbridge a few years ago. The name is actually a love story to my family. 622 Trowbridge was a family home. I knew it as my grandparents' home, and it was ultimately lost due to the long game of gentrification. But I love doing what I do. But right now, we are in a partial hibernation so that I can focus on ways to make it even more successful, defining what that looks like in the current stage. And as we go through, we will see that there are different stages and levels to our success. I am recently a self published author. The title of my book is The Dining Hills, The Inner Thoughts of the Mini Mogul. I am distributing that through a corporation that is working on a new initiative that I am entering a program shortly to work on getting funding. That will be my first time getting outside funding because I started my first two businesses as a broke college student, and all of my endeavors have been self funded as of this point. So, a level of success that I'm trying to get to is to acquire funding. That's a different level for a different business. I also consider myself a community advocate. So, in a nutshell, that is who I am. It's all of these different things, and compartmentalizing is very important, just in life and anything. But when it comes to our definition of success, we have to make sure that it is not contradicting who we are as people. So, for example, I'm the daughter of a woman who worked in corporate America for decades. So, I would be remiss if a part of my success or a byproduct of my success was not to make sure that women who work for me have competitive wages commensurate with their education and experience. There are more levels and more people involved in our success than just us as we move along. For example, if I say that I want to build a better future for the children that call me auntie and just in general, then that means if I have a plant that's producing a lot of waste and emitting a lot of pollutions, I need to focus on the success of going green or some sort of green initiative, employing the triple bottom line: people, planet, profit. If I'm not doing that, then now it's adverse to who I say I am. And that matters in what we consider our success. So, before we get into the meat, if since it's not, since everybody isn't on yet, if we could just share what is your definition of success in business, and we can see how that lines up with the rest of our content. Don't all jump
Well,
at once.
I'll go ahead and it is a layered question. And how do you define success? For me and with my business, I define success with, or I measure my success by how many people I'm able to train in how to perform CPR. And if they are able to use that to save a life. Now, I may not be privy to that information, but I do measure my success by the number of people I can engage in coming in and receiving this training that I offer. I am a nonprofit, so I look for funding in other areas. My services are provided free because I don't like to put a cost to saving a life, but I want to be able to make sure that a person is in that position to save a life if they can. So that's how I measure my success. And that's just one component right now. I'm sure there's more, but the uppermost thing for me, my mission, is to make sure that I can touch as many people as possible and knowing how to perform CPR, as well as the use of an AED.
Thank you so much. And I love that. Not putting a price to saving a life. That says a lot. Who do we have next?
I can go next. I guess I would define success in my business is um I would measure it by like how much of an impact I make, like when I work with certain organizations and I work on these projects. I really want to see what the whole, like what the outcome is, like what the whole impact, because the whole mission of my business is to bridge those services. It's called bridging gaps. So I want to bridge those services within those businesses and organizations. So I guess the biggest thing to me is, am I making a difference? Is the work that I'm doing within your organization actually reaching the people and creating a good impact or a widespread or community wide impact?
Awesome. Thank you.
I guess I'll go next. Okay. Success for Brooks Tea. Um, I had a goal of letting 5,000 people taste Brooks Tea, and I've kind of done that by giving out free samples. And success in the business also means not having to use your personal money to run the business all the time. And that is important. Um, Being able to hire others to help run the business is important to me. And being able to have time to do regular things like sitting out down to dinner, not spending 20 hours a day in the business, maybe 10. That's success for me.
Okay, awesome. And
I, I'll go next. Define. I think I would define success as the financial, um, the amount of money, having the amount of money to be able to help, an amount of money that would be able to help people, where I'd be able to help people live very comfortably, um, and how much of an impact have I had on the people that I've served or that I've worked around, whether serving, whether that means being a coworker, as someone being my employee, someone being no matter what, how effective have I been in their lives, spirit, soul, and body? That's for me. So I look at it as it's a financial thing, and yeah, how effective have I been?
okay, thank you. We know that bottom line matters. So
Can I
I did
jump
not,
in? Cindy?
oh, absolutely.
I'm so happy to hear everybody's personal definition because I think it's what drives you when you know what and how you define business success. When I first started, it was, getting somebody to pay me. That was success. Paying me for what I did or what I do. 5 years in was, can I afford an employee? 10 years in was, can I retain the employee? 15 years in, uh, can I retire in 10 more years? I think the trajectory of what success is changes with where you are in that station, in that place, right? It always changes. But what I'm learning is to recognize that our ecosystem partners, I couldn't do the work without Kendall. I couldn't do the work without Benita. I can't just chase the contracts and the dollars. I've got to sustain the relationships and be the gatekeeper and show up the right way because now I'm being required to be a representative of the clan, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
That's my new definition of success. Showing people how to be what they need to be the right way.
I love that. I really do. I did not always see myself as successful, even though other people did. My friends thought, "Oh, you got it all together." No, you're this and that, and I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't have this money. I'm putting all this work in, but where is the money? Where is all of this stuff?" And I had to review my mission. I really did have to go back to reviewing my mission and seeing, am I fulfilling that? And then from there, what there are varying degrees of success, and there are different levels of that. I didn't always consider myself a serial entrepreneur because of all of the connotations that come with that. It can be you started all of these businesses and they failed, so you just start new ones. Or, from my personal perspective, I was thinking of these mega entrepreneurs who are wildly successful, but I didn't know their definition. I can't say that when at the end of the day, the literal definition is just having started or owning multiple businesses. I technically fit the bill, but I had to dig deeper of what is success for me and seeing that there are levels to this. So as Laura mentioned, she had a 5, then a 10-year and a 15-year, and then what's my retirement goal so that I can move forward. But there are levels to this. So we have to be mindful of the different segments and layers. So since I have multiple businesses, I personally, I have to prioritize which one needs me the most today, which one needs me to show up in a different way. So that way I am setting up operations to fit that so that I can deliver what I said I could. For Braxton Management, now I have an employee. Now I have help. I'm training. I'm making sure that there are manuals. I'm making sure that the things are already set up. So when we grow the team even more, it's already a mechanism that they know how to fit into. I don't have to grasp at straws. That is success for me. So, in hiring someone, when I came from being this broke college student who happened to get her first client because she watched his kids in the summers. And I was working at a terrible job with bad management. I was overworked. I worked at the front desk. I experienced discrimination because of my age. It was a retirement community. And he texted me while I was at work because they harassed me to come in while I was sick, and he texted me and he said, "Hey, are you still looking for part-time or full-time work?" And I said, "Absolutely. I sure am." And that was the last day I worked that job. And that was the turning point of when I started Braxton Management. So when I sat down and looked at where I came from to my first client falling into my lap when I left a position with bad management, I vowed that I would never be an employer who caused her employees to hate coming to work. So having an employee who wants to work with me, even though we've weathered some storms, even though we've lost a client due to budget and all of these other things and growing pain, the fact that somebody wants to stick with me through all of that, that's success for me because I'm building an environment where people want to work, where people want to thrive, where they want to grow. And I had to realize, wow, Kendall, you came a long way. My employee is actually one of my friends from college. She texted me a picture of one of my early business cards. I don't even use, I hadn't seen one of those in years. And she texted to me when I came from people laughing or joking, "Oh, your little business. I see what you're trying to do," or things like that. Because I'm still in school. I have this one client, but I knew that, okay, I might be a first generation entrepreneur, but I'm going to make this thing happen. This is my calling. This is what I'm supposed to do. And so I had to realize I'm not at the level of success I'm trying to get to, but I've amassed some success. And I need to acknowledge that, but also I have to see how all of the components of my life fit in and making sure those definition of success in all of those other areas can coexist. So we have to try to safeguard against counterproductivity when we think about our success. So for example, if I just heard someone say, "I want to have at max a 10-hour day as opposed to a 12, 20-hour day. I want more time at home. I want more vacation time or whatever the case is. You want to be able to focus on your home life a little more. Your business goal cannot simultaneously be to be booked and busy, because how does that work? That does not agree. Because if you're booked and busy and it's just one you don't have time for your home life. So now it's affecting your health. Now it's affecting your relationships. Now your home is in disarray. And shortly after, your business is going to look very unsuccessful to you because there's no balance. We have to be mindful of what level we are and how much is needed for each level. And I'm sure that many of us can relate to this because I have been extremely tired and still saying, I need this, not realizing where I need to feed myself so that I can be successful in the long run. We have to think about sustainability of that success, not just the right now of it. So, for different status of entrepreneurship, I know some people have shared that they're part-time or full-time. I've mentioned that technically I would be considered a serial entrepreneur. We have to think about how our business fits our whole life and what is our current quality of life and what's our desired quality of life. Oftentimes, there is a gap. I can tell you right now, there's a gap between where I'm at now and where my desired level of quality of life is. We have to determine how will success in business play a role in my life holistically. There are so many people who have reached those different milestones. They've gotten that promotion, but they still did not view that as success because they had never defined what success was. I think sometimes we find ourselves on the kind of hamster wheel where we're running because we're going what we think is, we're going with the status quo, but we're not truly defining what success looks like for where we are and where we ultimately want to go. What does it require? Everything has an opportunity cost, and including our success. So we have to determine what are the drawbacks of this? How is this really going to affect me later? Do I have a mindset requires that requires me to stop comparing? Um, as I was going through school and trying to build my business at the same time, my track looked a lot different than my friends and looked a lot different. And my family couldn't fully understand because I'm a first generation entrepreneur. So people are looking at me like, how are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to do all of these things and stand on your own 2 feet? But I knew what I needed to do. And after a while, I had to stop comparing. Even as a consultant, before I started properly charging for consulting and helping people with their strategy, I was working with people and I started seeing them go beyond where I was. So I thought we're wildly different industries, but I started seeing them amass growth and implement all of the things that I helped them do. And I said, well, why am I not blowing up like them? I was confused. I said, I gave them all of this. I'm looking at my work come to life, but I had to realize that was success. The work that I provided, the role that I played in that business, whatever it was, I helped them get to where they are. And ultimately, that counts as my success because it falls under my mission, what I'm meant to do. It doesn't mean that I'm not eventually going to amass more growth and get to my next level of success. It simply means that I have to find contentment in every level, and not to be mistaken with complacency. But when we find contentment, that means we can actually acknowledge the small wins. Um, we don't necessarily rush past them. We can savor that so we can learn from each level because, as we said in the beginning, failure is a part of success. Are we documenting this? Are we noting what is working and what is not working? All of this needs to come into our thought process when we're trying to identify what is success? What is it that we want to achieve? But we definitely have to think about the drawbacks. I missed out on a lot of spring breaks and different random road trips or things like that, a lot of young time, so to speak, because I was focused on building. That was an opportunity cost for where I am now, for where I'm getting to. And we have to find a way to be okay with that opportunity cost. We have to find a way to accept it and move forward knowing that it's worth it. And if that drawback is not worth it, then we have some changes that we need to make. And we have to identify, who does our success affect? It's not just us. So we have to identify all the stakeholders of our business. Um, could anybody tell me some of their stakeholders that come to mind?
I can. When you say stakeholders, you mean the people who would almost like would be the sacrificial lamb to my success. Is that what you're
So yes and no. Your stakeholders, they could be direct or indirect. So meaning your dependents, if you're, especially if you're a full-time entrepreneur and this is your main means of income, your dependents are some stakeholders in your business because your success affects them. Your spouse or other family and friends, employees, investors or debt holders, the community, whatever way, we have more stakeholders than we normally acknowledge. So I'm just interested to see some of the specifics of who those might be for your businesses.
hmm, hmm. I was
Well,
looking from a different perspective. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait to reply to that because I have a different angle that I would be looking at that from.
oh no, feel free to share what your angle is. And now I'm intrigued.
Because, and the reason that I said that I'm saying that is because, and I think it's because of my age and the length of time that I've been in business, the way I've always thought about entrepreneurship, and my family being the sacrificial lamb, if you will, for my vision. Now, am I going too far? Is that not the direction you want to go in?
I want to go, no, I want you to share because it's your perspective.
Okay.
So I'm definitely interested to hear about that.
Oh, okay. So as a business owner, um, I've always been very careful about how much time my husband and I have two daughters, and I've always been very careful about how much time I spent after we had our children. We waited 6 years before we decided to have children, and when we did, we've always been very mindful of how much we worked and how much time we didn't spend with them, so that we could build these young Black girls. You know, these were it was very important to us to make sure that they were successful. Um, in the midst of that, just like I said early on when I was talking about the meaning of success and the things that I would have done differently, and taking advantage of opportunities and the risks that I didn't take, I feel like it would have been too much of it would have been too heavy on my family for me to take my business idea at that time, and my vision, and put it on my and make in a sense make my family pay for it financially and with time. I feel like it just would have been too much, and would have put them in the place of a sacrificial lamb. But at the same time, I now realize what that um, decision, the price that I paid. And don't get me wrong, it has not been super bad. Don't get me wrong, but I just see that things could have been a whole lot better um, had I done things differently. But I do see that having your cake and eating it too, you're going to pay a price. So I don't know if that's where you were going. I don't want to take that off. But when you said that, it just made me think of the price that we pay, that our families pay, that our even as a visionary, your spouse, having to you putting money into your businesses, and making these decisions, and where this right here you might need to, where you would be putting money into your retirement, where that money would be um, now had it not been in that business. So I don't know. I don't want to go too far off of where you're going, but that's the way I felt about what you just said. But please.
Oh, no, that was very helpful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your perspective, because honestly, that really connects with the concept of the opportunity cost of what we do. And also, your children, your family, they are stakeholders for your business personally. Even our competitors, what we do. So when I say stakeholder, I genuinely mean identify whoever is affected by your work, whether that's success or the failure portion of success or whatever it is. Like for me personally, I don't have any children of my own yet, but my nieces and nephews and my godchildren, to a certain extent, they will be stakeholders for my business because what I do affects them. I've literally had meetings with somebody else's baby on my lap. There are different things where we have to acknowledge that our success affects more than just us. And so, are there anyone else who wants to share a different stakeholder that they've identified, be them direct or indirect?
I do have stakeholders. My three grandchildren, they're stakeholders in both ways because I literally am hands on with them.
Mhm.
Um, but lately we had a conversation about it. And they was like, "Well, Granny, you don't really have a lot of time anymore." And I said, I don't have a lot of time, but I can take you to the water park, all of you, and I don't have to worry. I don't have to stress. I can take you to the water park. We can spend the money. We can do things. And they're now accepting that Granny is going to be a little more busy. You might have to do a little bit more when you come over because I am busy now. But I do think they're stakeholders. And of course, my husband is. He's a stakeholder because he actually, um, on both ends, I don't have as much time, but then I'm contributing more money. And so he actually works for me. I had to figure that out. Who can actually sell this product because I'm going to be making it. And so
Mhm.
he can sell it. And so I have actually become a stakeholder myself because I love the selling part, but I've almost backed all the way off of that so I could have another part in life, so he can go sell the product and I can make it. And, it's just like the time and the money, you're going to spend a lot of time and you're going to spend money that you didn't have before. So it is, I think it's beneficial for the grandchildren and the children and the spouse, but they also have something that they don't get as much of. I may not be in the kitchen cooking 10 hours. I might be making tea for 10. So it's different.
Mhm. No, I just want to pull out one main thing that you had. You said, I make it and he sells it. You were very clear in who owns what. And that's going to be irrelevant as we go further through, because that is key to our success, knowing what we want to do. Because there are so many business owners who don't want to be the CEO of their business. For them, that's not success. They want to own it and have other people manage it. They're like, okay, I'm going to do the work, but I'm not going to do this portion. That's a part of it because we have to know what it is that we enjoy and what we excel at so that we can give ourselves our best chance. But absolutely, your family is a stakeholder, but also if anybody cares to really connect about their consumers. What role would they play? What role do they have in your mind when you're forming the idea of success? It looks like Miss Brenda is ready to share.
Right. Well, external to my business would be my consumers, the people that I can draw in, the public. I'm finding that just because it's free, don't necessarily means everyone is grabbing for it. And as hard as I stress the importance of learning how to do this life-saving technique with just your hands, people are not gravitating towards that. And it could be more of a time thing for some as well. So for me, my stakeholders is the consumers in this from the standpoint of getting people, and once I get them in and I train them, or I shouldn't say I train them, internally, I have other folks that does the training. But once I can get them in and they receive the training, then I rely on them to go out and to tell others about it. So it's from both ends, because I am nonprofit and most of what I do is coming out of my pocket, or I solicit support from people that I know. Then I rely heavily on my family to help me do the things that I need to do. So like with the training, my daughter does the CPR training. She's certified and she's a anesthetist. So it's just a matter of scheduling it. So really, when you look at the face of who's doing the training, is my daughter. I'm behind the scenes organizing it and getting it together. When we're looking at eating healthy and what does healthy food looks like, then I rely on my son, who's a chef, because that's his area of expertise. So I organize it and then I bring them in. So from internally, that's that. External is where I have my problem. I'm finding some problems with, and that's where I would like to get some help in getting folks to buy into um, the service that I'm providing. That I'm only asking for, an hour and a half of their time.
Mhm.
So
So thank you so much for sharing that. And I love that it's a family affair. But for that, when you mention not just because it's free, not everybody may want it, we have to really dig deep and identify who our consumer is. And it's not always who we initially think. My target demographic has evolved over time because at first it was a little bit too general. So for me, I had to be more specific with who my stakeholders are. So down to what kind of revenue does the business have? Since I typically work B2B, or B to nonprofit, but I had to identify, well, what revenue stream do they need to have so that they can actually pay for the service? Where is their need so that what I do actually makes sense and fits what they do? Where are they so I can get in contact with them? And what is my approach in developing relationships so that I can be connected? All of that plays a role in our success. We have to know who it is we want to be those 5,000 tea testers. I love tea. I'm a tea drinker. So now the question becomes, how does LaDonna get connected with Kendall so that Kendall can taste the tea and take it to her other tea friends who prefer tea over coffee? So we have to get down to what is it, who are our target audience, and make segments from there so that we can um, adopt a language of success, which leads me here as we identify, and I'm sorry, actually, did anybody else want to share? I know we have two other people who didn't share for the stakeholders before I move forward.
I would just like to say I agree with everyone. My business has actually been operating for the last 3 years, and that last piece you just said, it really hit home because my main focus was like nonprofits in my area, in the Flint area, and some of the businesses that I have worked with have been very small. Although I believe my work is valuable, and some of the stakeholders that I have worked with, or clients as I call them, even though they need that help and I see that need, you have to make them believe or see the value in what you're bringing to the table. Because I've had contracts where it's good, but after a project is done, they don't see, just because when you're working with nonprofit, you're dealing with limited capacity and limited funding. So if they don't have the funding to continue the work, then they'll cut that contract short. So I do agree with that, and I do agree with all of the ladies as far as like stakeholders, because I do have dependents, and I kind of do my entrepreneurship on as like on a part-time basis right now, because I kind of keep my foot in the corporate world, because that provides me that financial stability. Because I know if I've been in a situation where I worked a full-time contract for 3 years with my business, and then when that was over, then it was like I didn't have anything else lined up. So that was kind of like the downside of, because I couldn't really take that risk to just do it full time. So that's my piece.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And I love that you mentioned the value of what you do. What you do is valuable, but you have to find those people whom it's valuable to. And we have a Zoom user. I don't know if you want to share. I don't want to put you on the spot, so it's up to you. Well, all righty then. Okay. Well, we will move along. When Antoinette mentioned value, that is perfect because it's
Can
really
I
on the
interrupt
right.
just for a second?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The Zoom user says he or she is unable, they can't unmute for whatever reason. So that's
Oh,
what, says for some reason I can't unmute. And that was in the chat. So that's why they're not sharing.
okay. Thank you
I,
so
I
much.
saw that. I don't know that I can unmute them. I'm trying, but I don't see that I can.
Oh, okay. Thank you for sharing that. I can't see the chat with my presenter view up. So if there's anything in the chat, please interject as you did. That's helpful. Thank you. So we have to adopt the language of success. Another stakeholder that's really important, I would say actually two stakeholders that I would really want us to think about today as we go through this are our internal team, whether they're paid or volunteer, whether it's family helping, but our team and also our consumers. When we're speaking of what it is to be successful, we want to make sure that we have them in mind. We want to think about all of our stakeholders, but that's honestly, I think that would be a completely different class if we went through all of our stakeholders and what that would look like. But in order, we need to adopt a language of success. So we need to identify our value proposition when we're talking to our potential consumers. We don't want to have to grasp at straws. I don't want to have to sell you a book and just talk myself until I'm blue in the face to get you to sign with me. I want to confidently tell you what my value proposition is so that and know that what I'm offering is valuable. And I have to decide for myself, how does that translate to my ultimate success? Do I believe that my definition of success is realistic and achievable? How is it achievable? What are the metrics that we're using for this to determine if we, in fact, are successful or not? So we want to be really mindful of that. Okay, there we go. So for example, this is Braxton Management's value proposition. Our management services help small businesses and associations who want to streamline and maintain operations by increasing efficiency and establishing consistency, thus enabling them to focus on their overall mission and vision. Now, that's a long sentence. I might edit that. However, that is a clear value proposition so that we know what is our ultimate goal. How is this going to help you? And now, once we see that that relates to people, now we can talk about how this will look specifically for each client because it's going to be different based on their needs. But at the end of the day, we have a core that we don't want to sway from. And even more than that, in our success stories, we need to stick to the mission. Offerings and vision will evolve over time, but our mission should remain steadfast. And there are times when missions need to be addressed. If it is not clear, I want to help people is too broad in general. That's not specific. People don't have a sense of direction with that. We can't fully create a vision based off of the mission if it's just open. If it's not reflective of your success. If your success has nothing to do with what the core of your business is, there's a disconnect. And so now it no longer becomes achievable. So now, is your mission achievable? How do you find that? For Braxton Management, our services kind of look wildly different. I started out providing secretarial services to a criminal defense attorney. Even though we can still do that, now we're at a point where we're able to do operations for companies. We're the association management firm of a psychological association out of state. I would not have guessed that in the beginning, but my mission still makes sense for what I currently do. We want to make sure that it makes sense so that we can be aligned in what we do and have a clear roadmap, which we'll get into a little bit more in the roadmap shortly. So now, if nobody has any like questions or anything they want to point out at the moment, I have three case studies that I want us to take a look at just to see the varying degrees of success. All right. Before I do, does anybody have any questions or comments? All righty, perfect. So Jerisha Hawk, she is this phenomenal business coach who works with CEOs. I've been following her for a few years and I'm on her email list. And eventually, when I get to a certain place, I might, look and see, but I know it's out of my bracket right now. But she shares so much valuable information, especially her story is very transparent. And so keep in mind, she makes millions in revenue. She has a team. She's coaching these CEOs of these top companies, but she didn't feel like she was successful. Now, for many of us, we're like, what do you mean you don't think you're successful? And you're making millions of dollars coaching people. I'm trying to understand how that isn't a dream. But she had too much pressure as the owner and CEO. She was coming to the issue of a lack of capacity. And her definition of success had to evolve into now seeking partnership of peers on her level. She needed someone who could share in her entrepreneurship journey, even if the weight wasn't directly on their shoulders. She needed that kind of support from a holistic perspective. For her, success is starting her day around 11 a.m. because she likes to not use an alarm clock, wake up naturally, do her exercises or whatever her morning routine is, and really getting going in the middle of the day. For some people, they want to be finished with meetings by the time she's just getting started. Everybody's definition is different. I know I am really not a morning person, but I have to set up my schedule in a way that it works for me, that I don't feel like I'm just dying on the inside because I can't function or I'm tired of talking to people that early in the morning. So we have to be mindful of what works for our lifestyle. Tammy from Texas, this was actually one of my cohort sisters. I don't remember her real name because we weren't in the same group, but we were able to connect on our last day of the program when we graduated in December of 2023. And so she had this logistics company. This was not her passion, but her husband worked in the industry. I believe he was a truck driver at a point in time. So they have the knowledge of the industry, they have the skill set, but this is not her passion. So she has a main goal. Her idea of success is to scale that business to sell it. It was very clear. So many people don't have a divestiture plan when they think of business. Oftentimes you start it and you just go with it. I technically, my first two businesses, I wrote my business plans after they opened. So, no, I didn't have a divestiture plan there fully. But for me, my plan is when I have kids, I want to be able to pass my businesses down to my children. I want to be able to keep my legacy in my family. That's my plan for whatever businesses that I'm able to keep going and make successful and build up. That's my plan. But for her, selling it, this is not her business, baby. This is a profitable opportunity that she wants to make successful for her terms and sell it. It's not inherently bad to be in business for money. But when it is for money, we have to be very clear about what we're doing. And still, if we want to be, this gets into the more ethical side of success. We still want to have that idea of the triple bottom line, which is people, planet, and profit. So sell to start her passion project. She already knows she wants enough money to do what it is that she truly wants to do because most of us need capital to start our businesses. So next we have Sonia from St. Louis. She is this family restaurateur. She inherited her business. Where has anybody here inherited a business or did everybody start from scratch?
Start from scratch.
I was from scratch.
Mhm. Same. Okay. So inheriting a business, I know that comes with many, many different things because now you're building on a legacy. This is something wildly different than what you can just change everything because now the consumers, the stakeholders, they're affected because now there's a change in ownership, there's a change in management. You have to decide, am I going to keep the status quo? Am I going to update some things? How am I going to make these processes work for my life? Because now it is directly in my life. This is no longer my mom and dad's thing that I'm helping with. Now this is mine. Overall success, keeping her parents' legacy alive, serving as a staple in the neighborhood, experiencing gentrification, continuity with operations, and retaining employees. That's difficult in itself, even when you're starting from scratch. But when you're inheriting a business, or even if you come in and buy somebody else's business, that change that's going to present a challenge when you're trying to develop continuity with operations and retaining employees because they're used to someone completely different. So this person, she doesn't necessarily want to grow beyond where she is for fear of diseconomy of scale and personal capacity. It is okay not to want to be a conglomerate. And it's okay to want to become that, but you have to decide what you're comfortable with and what opportunity cost is worth whatever that choice may be. She has not envisioned a divestiture strategy yet. She understands the core of her business, but she is content with the status quo. So that means she does not necessarily have specific um, goals in mind or specific levels of success. She's just trying to keep things afloat. Now, there's not anything inherently wrong with that, but we always want to have a plan for our end goal because we always want to keep the whole picture in mind. How is this going to work? What's my 5 year plan? What's my ultimate end goal? When I'm ready to retire, am I closing it? Am I selling it? Am I giving it away? Am I giving it to employees? We need to have a plan for our varying levels. Laura already knows when she wants to retire. So that means she already has a plan of what that is going to look like for best practices consulting because we have to think of those next levels as we move forward and think about what our success is. So now I want us to take a look. This is just an example. I have it filled out because, this is a part of what I've been doing in my business and what I need to remind myself to stay current on. But in making smart goals, how can we truly tell if we are successful if we have no metrics? I'm going to use Miss Brenda because you gave a specific number before, and now that number is in my head. If I want 5,000 people to become consumers of my tea brand, and I lied because actually it's Miss LaDonna. Yes, you said the 5,000 people for tea. Okay, now I'm back. It's the end of the day. But 5,000 is in my head, so we'll use that. If I want to help these 5,000 people, I have provided a metric. I need metrics to really measure if I am being successful, if I am achieving my goal. So, am I documenting how many people I talk to about my business? Am I documenting how many of those prospects actually become consumers? How much business do they come to? How long are the contracts? How am I able to interact with these people? There should be some type of processes involved so you can actually tell, well, what's been successful and learn from the failure portion of the success. So, in this, and this is just an example, yours doesn't have to look like this, but I really recommend establishing some SMART goals so you have a map. How am I meeting my vision? How am I getting to my next level of success? Really identify what's the impact that you want to make. Identify, is there a bottom line attached to this? How much money do I need to raise for this? How much money is this going to cost me? And from there, write down the steps as if your 10-year-old nephew is going to help you with this. Write it down so that way you can make it plain. And I would love for us to really kind of create a SMART goal together, and we can create a random company because we want to make sure for SMART goal, is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it attainable? Is it relevant? And is it time bound? Sometimes we have goals that are not relevant to what we consider success. It's just something to do. We saw, oh, somebody in the industry was doing it. Well, why are you doing it? You can't tell me. We don't need to do it. So I would love it if we kind of created our own company. So if somebody can choose an industry and we will develop a SMART goal for this industry or this company, what industry do we want to go in? Anybody? Okay, well, I will say we are a packaging company. So we produce boxes, and we also do specialty boxes for different colleges and other educational institutions. So our goal is to provide 10,000 boxes for a back to school rally of underprivileged children, right? So now, what might be a first step in our SMART goal for that? Where do we need to go in order to get 10,000 people, since that's what we want to achieve?
So I think identify where these boxes, or identify the communities that have these underprivileged children, and how do we go through the school system? Do we go through the state DHS department system? I think the first thing, if we're going to have 10,000 boxes, how are we going to get it to the people that need it the most? So do we check with our churches, the schools, doctor's offices, even, etc.?
Mhm. I love that we have multiple steps in there, but even before we start all of that, we need an estimate of how much money this is going to cost us. We need to make a budget for how much money is this going to cost us to produce all of these boxes. Now we have to decide how are we going to get materials to put in these boxes sponsored, or are we paying for that? That needs to go on the budget as well. So now when we move there, you said, first of all, let's figure out who we're helping. Great first step. Second, now we found out the area. What are the community organizations in those areas? So we know how to disseminate all of these materials to those people. Now we need to search for community partners. Do we have relationships with these people? If we don't, now we have to develop relationships with these people so that way we can get on their books, on their radar, so we can get connected to those free resources to help us do this big drive. Now we have to set up a calendar. How is this going? So now we set up a calendar. Boom, because we have to set deadlines. So now we're scheduling this is happening and how many employees do we need to be here? Because now we've estimated how much money the materials, but our budget should also account for the employees who have to work to do this. How much time is this going to take? So when we're making SMART goals, we have to go through every part of what that will look like. So we know, how is this falling into our goal? If our mission is to be the premier packaging company in the metro area, this is helping us do that because now we're getting in more neighborhoods that we might not have previously been in. Even though this might not have been a for-profit mission, if we have a nonprofit sector or we just have a mission portion, that goes along with what we do. But our goals should still relate to our definition of success in some type of way. But how can we say we're successful if we don't know who we're helping, what we're doing, how much it costs, how much revenue we need to bring in? We need to make sure that we're identifying goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. This has become one of the most valuable things that I've implemented. And really, it came in when I was in the 1 Million Black Women program because they were very adamant about SMART goals. And this has been a game changer because it really makes us think, well, what do I need to do to make this happen? And do I have capacity to do all of these things? It also lets us see who else needs to be involved in this process and how do I get connected with those people so that now we can collectively succeed in whatever we're trying to do. Do we have any questions on SMART goals, or does anybody else want to share one, even if you've thought of a SMART goal, an ultimate SMART goal for your business? And it doesn't have to be this full kind of laid out map. A SMART goal can be a simple sentence. In 3 months, I would like to make 10 sales with new clients that I did not previously have. That can be something very simple and straightforward. So does anybody want to share maybe a personal SMART goal before we move forward?
Well, I'm thinking when you put it like that as in a sentence, I would like, because like my training is done quarterly, that I would like to see that I have trained at least up to 33 people per session quarterly, and average three, well, I'm not making sense here. 3 sessions per quarter with up to 33 people per session.
Okay, awesome. Would anybody else like to share a SMART goal? Okay. Um, and this is just kind of a map so you can be mindful of writing out the steps for that. So you want to make sure that once you make that SMART goal, you're identifying what needs to happen for you to get there. What are the tools you need to be successful? All righty. Well, and I can also share a copy or a blank form for SMART goals, like for that process as well. I can share that with best practices to send over, and I don't mind sharing the slides. All righty. So now, after everything that we've gone through, do you think your definition of success in business encompasses everything that it needs to?
No. I need to identify what is not encompassed. I don't, going through what we have, we still, I have my granddaughters. We talk about them. That's why I keep going out and coming back in. They only hungry and need me when I'm busy. Um, this, I can look at going back and redefining what I consider business success from behind this session.
Mhm.
And I would have to work on that. But I
Okay.
do feel that what we covered so far has been helpful, useful, as well as valuable. So I can work with that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm definitely happy that something was valuable. Does anybody want to share if they want to revisit their definition of success to make sure that it encompasses them as a whole and the business mission? Okay. Well, I can definitely say that my definition of success, even though I said the short answer was to fulfill my mission and, meet needs and build in my community, I think that the way that success is fulfilled looks different on different days. There was a point in time where I prayed for my days to look different because I do multiple things. And I realized I technically am walking in that. My days do look different most times. And that's a level of success. When I'm able to pay something forward, when I am able to run payroll, when I am able to, all of that is a level of success because I have to think about the people working with me. And I also know that my level of success will continue to shift over time because right now I'm single without children. But when one day I'm married and I have kids, it's going to look a lot different. Success to me at that point will be shorter days. It will be working maybe 3 full-time days and having 2 days off or whatever the case is. My weeks will look different at that point. As Braxton management is scaled and it needs me less on the day to day, that's success to me. And also when I'm able to push and pour more into my food-based business, that's also success. So we have to acknowledge whatever small wins that there may be. When I am able to work with young people to talk to them about business and what are some of the options, etc., that is success. Being able to implement the education that's costing me a lot of money, or rather racking up my loans, that's success because now I know I'm using what was valuable to me. I'm taking that information and I didn't count it as a loss. And I would count this as the failure portion of success because we didn't dig super deep into that. But I'll share it since we have just a few more minutes. Last year, there was a client who ended up behaving in a very inappropriate way on a call. And I looked at my employee's face and I saw how uncomfortable she was. And so I did not address it on that call because I can tell you very much so that it would not have been respectful. It would not have been professional. And I did not want to put myself in a position where I could give someone something truthful to say that was bad about me. So I took my time and I drafted a professional email where I had thanked her for her business. I enjoyed working with her, and I identified the inappropriate behavior and how I am building an environment for Braxton management that is built on mutual respect between employees, clients, and myself. And I ended with, I hope that we can move forward in a mutually respectful manner. Ultimately, we lost that contract because I was not going to allow disrespect to be had in my firm because I saw my employees' faces. One, it was very disrespectful, it was very inappropriate. But ultimately, even though that looked like a loss, that looked like failure because that was loss of money, that was loss of a contract. And I had just hired somebody. That's definitely the wrong time to lose revenue when your expenses go up. However, I looked at that as an opportunity for growth because now I have a new process, a more rigorous process in accepting clients to make sure that they are the right fit for my firm. And now I looked at that as a win. I said, because I learned from that. And even though this person has, shared some falsehoods since that time, I know that I still had to operate in a professional manner. So showing people that I know how to be professional in different arenas and in different unsavory situations, that's a level of success to me. And it was a reminder that I'm on my way. Because if you have to badmouth me because of something that was not true, that means I'm doing something right. And I cannot give you the satisfaction of showing you who I could be if I was unprofessional. So that's also a piece where I believe failure is definitely a part of success. Because what did I learn and what did I implement from what I learned? Even if it's something that was a failure on my end, how am I being accountable for what I've messed up? How am I learning from that? And how am I teaching that to my staff so that that issue does not continue to recur? So that is what I would consider a part of success. I think it's very layered, but as long as we're sticking to our mission and we are not contradicting who we are as people, that is success. Do we have any questions or comments on what is business success? Here are just a few of the articles that I had looked at while I was preparing for today. I didn't use any specific references, but some of these might be helpful. So I'm happy to share my slides so you can pull those up to check them out. Um, there are also some LinkedIn articles that'll talk about just, success and why and entrepreneurship and things like that. So those might be of interest. I really look forward to connecting. If you all would like to share your email to be a part of our email list, please let me know. I don't do spam, but we will send out some email blast of what we're doing at Braxton Management or share, some different tips and tricks about business related to administration or operations management.
Would you like for us to drop our email inside the chat?
Yes, please. Thank you all so much. I would like to thank Best Practices again for having me, for kicking it off. And I certainly hope that something was useful and that you're able to take that and implement it into your business practices.
Thank you for your relatability, Kendall. I like your approach. I think we learn when we watch other people's experience. Adult learners can learn from watching other people do. And I think we also have to level set our definitions on what success looks like. You know, we can't look at Ubers and Ford, Chrysler, and GM as being the only methods of gauging what success is. It's really about how you define that. And having someone who's actually participated the way you participate makes it make a lot of sense for me and for some of the people. I'm sure will gain some benefit from that. Guys, in the chat, I've actually added several links. Let me point out several. There's a survey questionnaire in the link. I'll post it again. If you could give us some feedback, that'd be super great. And then I also added two links. One is about a grant. That's a $1,000 grant. It's a Black outfit that does this, long as they have the funding and they do it every month. You have to compete for it. It's the Hustlers Michael Grant. It's only $1,000, but for some businesses, $1,000 might be quite beneficial. What they want is your story, a picture of you, how you would use the money, so that they can put that into their, look at how we're helping another minority business. So if that's something that you're interested in, great. Two more things. We've got a workshop coming up on January 28th. The both sides of the 1099. It's time for you to get ready to do your 1099 distributions. For those of you who may or may not know, if you've spent more than $600 with any one practitioner, contractor, or provider of services, you owe them a 1099. That's the IRS requirement. It's not 800, it's not 850, it's 600. I teach small business owners, if I give you $500 or $5, I pay the taxes on it. I'm sending you the 1099. I'm sending you the 1099, either which way it goes, because I'm reducing my own business tax burden. You should consider that. If you're paying for a product or service, you should be 1099ing anyone who's not on your payroll to reduce that gap that the IRS looks at as an expenditure or an expense internally. They'll disqualify certain things if you don't classify them correctly. It just should not be something that's part of your taxable income at all because you've paid it out to someone else. So that workshop is going to be on the 28th. That link is in the chat. Caleb is sitting here taking notes. He's going to grab all of this information and regurgitate it out to you all again.
Okay.
It's Tuesday, it's late. I want to say thank you, Ms. Kendall, for facilitating what is business success. I want to say thank you all for hanging in there with us and actively participating. I really appreciate it. We want to do more engaging and active workshops, as many of them as we possibly can. We've got an entire full calendar year of different workshops. Some of them will be getting ready for the new worker advance wage increase that happens in the state of Michigan, February 1. So for those of you who are not paying that new elevated minimum wage standard, you're going to be in trouble for that. We're also going to show you how to actually pay out discretionary support for like medical services and such if you meet a certain threshold in your business. So just sign up on our news watch list and you'll see the many things that we're going to move throughout this opportunity. So I'm tired. Kendall, you did a great job. It's been a long day. I wish I could start at 11. I started at 5. So I want to go sit it on down. Another way that I want to define my success is when I can do a 3-hour day, call it successful. Thank you, Ms. Kendall. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for following through. If you would do the workshop survey, that would help us a lot so that the city of Flint and those other funders know that we're talking to people and trying to support them where they are.
And if I can add in our this most recent year Pulse Crown group of the participants, looking at some of the comments, someone said she thought it started at 9 o'clock instead of 6. But when I did see the 9 o'clock and it did say Eastern Standard, but then up above I saw where it says 6 o'clock PM. And Benita had mentioned 6 o'clock to us as well. But just keep that in mind. That was
Thank you for
probably
that.
a reason why we
Where was that?
it was when you clicked on the let me see, she sent that to us. And I was reading some of their comments, and that was why they weren't able to get in.
Get on the link.
Yes.
Yeah.
To get on the link, right? That it was saying 9 o'clock instead of
Yes.
I'm trying to see if I can pull into this to look, but it's not showing. But it did say 9 p.m.
Yes.
instead of 6 p.m. You noticed that as well, LaDonna?
I did. It was a Laura Sigmund, but it was right under the one. And so you had to push the one up, just up above it. And I can see
There
where
was
you wrong. I can see
there
where
were
they
old Eventbrite. We had to remove it from that one. We created a whole new Eventbrite. So going forward, best practices will have a new Eventbrite under support at bpcs.biz. And if you are looking for the upcoming events, they'll also be listed in the business series workshop collection. So there's about 5 events listed under that series right now.
And I did
And
register
I'll
for
send that
them.
out.
Okay, but you send you a follow-up with an email to Bernita, possibly, and then she
Yeah.
will get it to us. But I just want you to
Yeah.
know, it's not that everyone was busy, it's just that they were probably gonna get on at 9 o'clock tonight.
Yes.
And no one
I
is
got
gonna
on that link and
I'll
got
be
back
there.
off. Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you, ladies, and thank
Okay.
you for telling us about that conflict, because certainly how you present it is how people plan, right?
Mhm.
Right.
So that part. Thank you, though. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Yeah, okay, bye-bye. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Thanks,
Have a
Kim.
good night.
Good night.